Hello, and welcome to the Vlogging Pod. Tonight we are joined by Amita Sharma. Welcome to the podcast, Amita. How are you this evening?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much, Laura. I really appreciate. Sorry, Ari. Laura's
It's
the
all
other
right.
one.
It's all right. Laura's in the room. She
I
loves
know.
to
I
be
know.
included.
Okay, so maybe I included her first, and then you second.
Laura hates to be on the mic, though, but she's always in the room. Sometimes I'll nag her to get on the mic, but usually she just strolls the room. So, I would love to really dive into some questions going around your platform. And for everyone who doesn't know, it's also the title of the room. It's called Neurodish. Is that it? NourishDoc. NourishDoc.
Correct. NourishDoc.
Awesome. I did roam around on it today so that I could get a feel and, so I know what I'm going to ask and just gives me a little bit more premise of you. Um, so, and basically it's just a lot for menopausal women, but I'm sure even before premenopausal, this would be very informational for all those interested. So go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm just going to say that menopause is typically in 50s when we use
Hmm.
the word menopause. The perimenopause is 40s, and then the pre is mid 30s. So I think it can be useful for women over 35 plus.
Awesome. Now I'm 52. Just to put that
Okay.
out there. So you know where I'm at. I'm right in there, man. I am right in there.
You're right in the eye of the storm.
Yes. Unfortunately, I could have a whole podcast on I could have several based on what I've been through the last few years
Oh
alone,
my
and
God.
the menopause has contributed greatly. I mean, so much so, this is a little bit off topic, but it has contributed so much that and I'm not sure most people know this, but when you go through menopause and say you get on hormone therapy, and I'm only saying this because of my own personal what has happened to me. I am
Yeah.
now I have now have asthma because
Oh, wow.
yeah, when I got on hormone supplements, and I hadn't been on it very long. I was going through a lot because my father had passed away. It's been 2 years now, but at the time, this kind of tells you a little history. 2 years ago, I got on the hormone replacement and I got sick, just like a very in my lungs, very serious, and it just wouldn't go away. And because of that, now I have late onset asthma because of that. And
Hmm.
so there are a lot of things that we as women, just when we get to perimenopausal, menopausal, premenopausal, we do not know. So I am going to suck you dry of information tonight.
Go for it. By the way, a big disclaimer, I'm not a medical doctor. All the
No,
information
I
that I'm
get you.
going to share is I have interviewed over 3,000 plus experts from all over the world. So that
Right.
my, yes, so I will be sharing whatever I have learned.
Well, sometimes I think that's more valuable because, um, as a doctor, unless you're a woman doctor, I personally find that this is personal. This is my own personal view, but I find as a man, I mean, if you haven't felt it, do you really know what I'm feeling? I mean, if you haven't went, and I actually love now. I actually have a female doctor now. This is the first time in my life, so so much more appreciative of that. But anyways, like I said, you have interviewed many women. You're not a doctor yourself, so reiterate to our listeners. But you have a vast amount of information from people that you have spoken with and their happenings and what they've went through, what they've experienced. So when we look at menopausal, what's the scope of symptoms that we're looking at? We'll go with that one first because that's where I'm at. That's what I'm interested in.
Sure, sure. So let's just take your example, if you don't mind, right? So you are
Mhm,
right, like I said, you're right at the eye of the storm. 51, 52 is an average age when a woman will become menopausal. So the
mhm,
term when we use the word menopausal is if you haven't had your period for 12 consecutive months, you're technically menopausal.
mm,
That is the definition. And then after that, for rest of your life until you die, you're postmenopausal. You are postmenopause, right? So
mhm.
now I don't know where you are. Like if you've already hit menopause, or you're still kind of having your periods.
Well, I had a hysterectomy in my 30s because I had tumors,
Oh,
and
okay.
then I had to go back in, when I say tumors, this was a little bit for everybody. I had, oh, what do you call it? Dermal, tumors, buildup from edematous in your skin, the, fibroid tumors that we get. And I had them build up inside my uterus, so much so, I had a 3rd degree. There's 3 different versions of that, but I had the very last one is where they're on the outside, one is on the inside, and one is where they're embedded into the walls of your uterus. I had that, and, so I bled all the time. So I had a period all the time, and it was worse between intimacy. So I had a hysterectomy in my 30s, and then I had to go back. I think it was 2 years later, and I had another, they call it a chocolate tumor. Basically, it's the fibroid material again, but it was filled with blood, and that was on the one of my ovaries. So I only have half an existing ovary left in me.
Oh,
So
okay.
I yeah, so I was very perimenopausal, you know what I mean, in my 30s,
Yeah.
because I
Yeah, I
was
can
already
imagine
going
that.
yeah. So I was already there, I had the hot flashes and all that stuff, and I haven't had a period since then. But, since I hit 2 years ago, I started to get a massive amount of conditions, and I even, emotional where I was having, of course, it would also happen because we were building an apartment here on the property for my mother, and my father had recently passed. So I was experiencing, I don't wanna say panic attacks, but pretty much similar, and there's a word and I'm missing it, but I was having those also, and then I talked with, my doctor and stuff, and a lot of times hormonal things can cause, you know what I mean, the
Yeah,
anxiety, that's what I was having, an
yeah,
anxiety attack. So I was
yeah.
having those, and that's when I decided to get on the hormone therapy, was because of the anxiety attacks.
Got it, got it. But let's just talk about a woman who hasn't had a hysterectomy, or let's say, and because yours
Mhm.
is a very different case, right? It's a very
Right.
complicated case. But let's just, so an average woman would go through menopause at the age of 51, 52 when she hasn't had any period for 12 consecutive months. And then the years preceding to that would be perimenopause, and that typically starts in your 40s. And those are the years, it could be from 4 to 10 years for women going through perimenopause. And it's very kind of shrouded in mystery as far as what the heck is perimenopause, why do I have to care about it, all those things, right? These are the
Right.
years transitioning, your body's transitioning to become menopausal. Your periods are not going to stop one single day. They are going to start becoming irregular when you start hitting perimenopause. And that's when your symptoms start of hot flashes, your sleep issues, your mood swings, your anxiety. There are about more than 35 plus symptoms recorded for a woman, an average woman. Not everything is going to hit you at one time, God forbid. But but
Just my luck.
I know. Can you imagine? Oh my God. But on an average,
Oh,
I had like 4 to 5 symptoms. I'm telling you, in my 40s, I was like,
yeah.
but I talked to so many women, and they all told me it wasn't one. It was like four and five things together, and that's why it becomes very layered, because it's not just the
Mhm.
physical part of wellness, it's your emotional wellness, like your mood swings, right? And
Yes.
then it also impacts your relationships. I'm not going to use the words, but you intimacy is the
Mhm.
word.
Yeah.
yeah, right. It can impact your that, and it can impact your career as well, because you're not able to function properly, right? Because of you haven't had a good sleep in the morning, your brain is all groggy, and you are not able to focus, right?
Right.
So it's a multi-layered situation that women should learn and understand what they're going to go through during the perimenopause. Things are different for different culture, women coming from different culture and ethnic groups as well. That is how
Right.
layered it is and how complex it is. And to make it more complicated is the lack of research in this on this topic. And most of the primary care physicians or even the gynecologists have not been um, taught about perimenopause in during their medical study of 15 years. And this is what medical doctors have told me. So that's why it's like all like people don't understand and women don't understand, and suddenly I'm like, oh my god, what am I supposed to do, right? Is it because
Mhm.
all of these reasons behind it?
Right. So when we talk about women who have identified, we'll just jump right into because I know you said there's pre and there's peri and then there's the full on menopause. So when you talk with a lot of these women, what are their views on hormone therapies, the HTs that you've spoken to? Were they all on board, or were still a lot of them skeptical about even going on hormone therapy? Because I
So
know,
yeah, I'm sorry,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
I was just gonna mention from my mother's day and age, she was told a lot that it could cause more harm as far as, like, breast cancer and all this stuff, but that basically has been proving false in a lot of ways. That was I know it was done from a brief survey. You can tell how much I've dived into this information only for myself. But so do a lot of women still hold off on the hormone therapy, or are they on board with it now? Do they understand the risk and not the risk of it?
So a lot of women don't even understand, and I just look at the
Mm,
statistics, and I'll share that with you. Like in United States, only 5% of the women are on HRT. Believe it or not, only five
mhm,
percent. And I think it's just the information has not been communicated to them properly.
mhm,
That's the feedback I have. Now UK is a completely different beast in the sense that they're more educated. The GPs, what they call them, GPs over their general practitioners. The menopause has this whole thing has been going on for the last 10 years, and they are really encouraging all of the women to go on HRT. It's completely
mhm.
different. Now when I talk to people here in the United States, in women specifically, they are skeptical going on HRT because
Yes.
of the reasons, right? What you just said. But those
Mhm.
studies were actually false. Some studies were done,
Yes.
and they were done wrong because they gave the one of the this thing, progesterone, or one of the hormone to 60-year plus older women.
Mhm.
They should have given it to the 40-year-old, and post when
Yes.
by the time you're postmenopausal, and so that then they did it right, and now it doesn't cause cancer. It's fairly safe, but it's the job of a primary care physician and gynecologist to educate the women who are coming to them, and still women are this is whole like, oh my god, uh, this is going to cause cancer, and women are kind of skeptical about it. That's the feedback I have got, but after talking to so many thousands of women, they still prefer a holistic options, but and they are not educated enough on the HRT part.
Right. I started diving deeper. I follow she used to teach aerobics back in the day. This dates me a lot. But, anyways, she used to teach that. And now she has a podcast. Her name is Charlene Johnson. And she does a lot about menopause. And I have found it. She actually talked with some, oh, goodness. doctors in the field. I can't oh my gosh, I can't tongue tied. A gynecologist, there's the word. She spoke with a woman gynecologist, and she broke down that whole study that was done back in my mother's day and age, and explained about the falsehoods of that testing, and that there aren't. I mean, I'm sure there are some risk. I'm not a doctor, so please don't take my word on that. Always speak with your doctor and your gynecologist on everything like that. But I found it interesting that a lot of that stuff, wasn't put out there. It seems to me when it comes to women's health, we're always second in the line. There's not enough information, in my opinion, out there. Do you when you were speaking with women, do they have the same similar outlook that they feel that there's not enough information?
Absolutely, yes. The research has not been done, under researched, underfunded. Most of the women research, whatever has been done, is focus on the fertility part of it. The first reproductive years of the woman's stage, not beyond the reproductive years. And this obviously is beyond the reproductive years, right? And this
Mhm.
stage of a woman is overlooked, and so far. But now it's beginning to happen. I don't know the extent, because I know Jill Biden had allocated about $500 million for women's research and fund.
Yeah.
I haven't followed up as to where things are, considering so many things are happening right now.
There's so much. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh. Yeah,
yeah.
there is so
So
much.
it has to come from top down somewhere, or even
Yeah.
the medical doctors, the gynecologists, if they have not been briefed on different type of HRT can be very complex. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. So there's a lot of I don't want to go into a lot of details, but I've interviewed enough of these experts that they have also talked to me about alternatives to HRT. Like one of the menopause experts that I interviewed, he's from UK, and he was talking about HOPS. So now that's also something needs to be researched, and he was talking about how that can be an alternative to HRT. Like, look, the jury's out there. You and I are not medical doctors, but there should
Right.
be so many options, and the options, what I feel, should be presented to each and every woman, and then they make the decision based on their own personal preferences, or the whatever the composition of their bodies and all that stuff, right?
Yes. Um, I know, like, I know we briefly just skimmed over it, but they had a bill they were trying to pass about women's health, but, um, I question a lot of things that are coming out right now. So me personally, and if you follow my podcast and you've heard my political views on other podcasts where it's just me speaking, you already know where I stand. But so
Yeah,
me,
yeah,
without
yeah.
without making this a political thing, me personally, if I could give a heads up and a warning to all women out there, do some research, because I am just not sure how much is going to be at your fingertips and readily available for women in general. So always, always, you know what I mean? Do as much for yourself as you possibly can.
Agreed, and that's what we are trying to do, right? Present
Mhm.
women with the trusted information, with holistic, starting from the holistic self care, and then you move into, if you have to go to HRT, but
Mhm.
HRT, no HRT, women need to also change their lifestyle because their bodies are changing. That is a fact.
Yes.
The gut microbiome is changing because your hormones are going down, and your bone mass is going to go down, whether you like it or not,
Ah,
right?
and your muscle
And
decreases. Yeah.
exactly, and
Mhm.
if those hormones are going down, those hormones are very good for your skin. We know that as you get older, the collagen and the skin elasticity, and even the hair thinning comes up. So many women starts getting thinning of
Oh, yeah.
hair, right?
Oh, yeah.
Weight gain around, specifically around the
Mm.
tummy. Uh, so right, it's
Yeah.
not just
I
one.
feel ya, I feel ya. Without getting on the scale, I feel ya.
Yeah, exactly. So there is there's a lot of things going on, and I think what we are trying to do is bring the right type of information,
Mhm.
trusted information out there for the women, and then let them decide, whether it's a hormone or hormone free, natural options. A lot of companies have come up with supplements that are hormone free, and they
Mhm.
have done a lot of analysis and trials, simple, what the results are. So there's a lot out there is what I'm trying to say. I personally know
Right.
about 3 4 companies who are into all this. So I think the best way is to seek your either naturopathic doctor or someone who understands not only the HRT. That would be my suggestion.
Mhm.
There are other options. The reason I'm making this statement is because there are also other options that are non-hormonal. They have proven results, as far as hot flashes and some of the symptoms going down. So I think you should definitely consult someone who understands menopause rather than a generic primary care physician or even a generic gynecologist, because some of them don't. And so someone who understands non-hormonal as well as hormonal options. And that could be, hey, naturopathic doctors or functional medicine doctors or someone who is trained on menopause as a subject matter. That's what I'm emphasizing. And you have to
Yes.
do your research. Otherwise, you
Oh, yeah.
blindly would end up doing this versus that. Because like I said, there are really good options right now. I talked about HOPS, HOPS, and then there's so many other companies who have come up with non-hormonal supplements and non-hormonal options. One should look at it.
Mhm. I do the HRT, and then I also have another medication, because my intimacy, I noticed a lot. Of course, I never had a very high drive, and it even went down more so with menopause. So I have both. I go through, uh, an online, it's called Winona. Have you ever heard of that?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, I do Winona, and, they have a doctor you speak with, but then you can ask them questions, but I also refer to my family doctor as well so that they have it in my prescriptions up, but that's who I went through. I actually tried a lot of, natural stuff when they say it's
Yeah.
something, the black root or something like that, I forget what it's called, for hormone and stuff like that. I've tried so many things. And it took me a while, and I think for every woman, it's different because the regular allergy pills, because now, like, I have late onset asthma, now, and I never realized I had allergies, and now I have allergies. When you go through menopause, it's like you're getting a whole reset, and I don't think people understand that. Your your whole body has changed, and one thing can affect another. And when I talk about that, because when I was looking at your website, one thing I saw was that you had something on here for, sleep and how, um, sleep reset is what I think is what it's called. Cultural
Yeah.
sensitive holistic care for better sleep. So even
Mhm.
that is affected. Have a lot of women spoke about healthier habits for their sleep as they're going through menopause and premenopause and perimenopause?
Yeah, sleep is something that impacts a lot of women. A lot of more than 50% of the women, the sleep gets impacted. Right, that's actually a
Mhm.
fact data point, and because of a lot of it is actually like you said earlier, your body completely changes. And I just want to make a
Yes.
comment is that a lot of it is also inflammation that has been built, kind of accumulating, I should say, that over years of maybe bad habits or not eating properly, maybe processed foods, the food supply is also. So it all exacerbates, right? By the time
Mhm.
you become menopausal, because now your hormones are going down and all that kind of accumulates, right? And then the hot flashes. Just to give you an example, Japanese women don't get hot flashes. Now, that is clearly, there's a lot of research that has been done on this subject. That is because of the dietary habits that they have been following for generations and generations on soy based and some, like
Mhm.
that kind of food, right? Now, if you look at
Mhm.
Latino American and African American women, they have more aggravated hot flashes. And if you
Mm.
see the kind of food that they're eating, have been eating, is processed food. So it depends. Is that my point is that it's not like every women are going to be different. So a Japanese woman is not going to probably have issues with the sleep because she's not having night sweats and hot
Mhm.
flashes and some of these kind of things, but as opposed to other women. So it's all very personal. But
Yes.
what we are trying to do is we are trying to say, look, your body, like you said, it's a complete reset button as far as the body is concerned. You need to understand you need to incorporate holistic lifestyle, right? That's what we
Mhm.
are trying to
Yeah.
say as a first step. HRT, no HRT doesn't matter. So holistic meaning taking care of your physical, your emotional, your social, your mental, because 50% of that us, like you talked about, you have anxiety. The data talks
Mm.
about 50% of women have anxiety issues. So there's a lot of things that holistic lifestyle, using holistic therapies, that one can control, right? Lot of things, and that's what we are saying as a first step. And then, whatever you have to take, the medication or the HRT, I mean, that's perfectly fine. So if you go on our website, that's what we talk about.
Right. So, when we refer to, the health of our intimacy, I'm clicking on one of your links here on the site too. Cultural sensitive holistic care for, and I'm just gonna say intimacy health. And, just in case, um, I don't want anyone when they're listening to it with children around to have to explain. Um, so, I mean, what is the consensus on a majority of women how that affects their intimacy as they're going through? I mean, when you talk about perimenopausal and then menopausal, what is their
Uh,
experiences as they're going in through that?
it impacts a lot, actually. The data, if you look at it, 60% of the divorces that happen,
Mm.
women, is happening during this phase of their life. So you can imagine I'm not saying intimacy is the only reason for getting a divorce. That's not my, that's not
No.
what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is
Mhm,
definitely that could be one of the reasons, and that kind of gets piled up because
mhm,
uh, yes, a lot of women, the loss of libido, a lot of women have this issue, and then they should consult, whoever they need to consult. Sometimes they also could have pain. They
mm,
could also
yes,
have vaginal issues. So
mhm,
there's a physical pelvic floor specialist, physical therapist. They can help with some kind of exercises that basically sends the blood flow. So there's a lot of things you can do using. You don't need medication for everything. I'm not saying don't take it, but
mhm,
there's a lot of information, a lot of work that talks about breath work, pelvic floor therapy, these kind of work that helps with the intimacy part of the woman's, you know,
mhm.
it's a
Oh,
lot.
I get you.
Yeah. So
I
there are a lot of specialists, and also it's mental, right? Your stress level has to
mm.
come down. It's not just the physical part. There's a lot of relaxation techniques. We all know that can be incorporated with breath work again, with meditation, with chanting, with journaling.
Yes.
Also
Mhm,
eating some different certain type of foods, changing your diet accordingly. So and also using some of the spices, herbs and spices in your day to
yeah,
day cooking and day to day life. A lot of things you can do to improve all these things, right? And that's
right.
and it has it doesn't have clinical trials, but it has decent research, I would say, in
Mhm,
PubMed. Like we know, turmeric, ashwagandha, these have been very well researched herbs that are readily available, for everywhere in the world for that matter. Ashwagandha has so much research that helps bring the anxiety down, as an
Mhm.
example. And it also, they talk about the the female, it can help with the intimacy as a result of the stress going down, right?
Right.
So like I said earlier, I think a lot of naturopathic doctors, a lot of functional medicine, integrative medicine doctors are more familiar with the combined HRT, as well as use of all these natural therapies. So you can combine, you can have an integrative approach, not go once, not swing it to the one side versus the other. Just come find a common ground, and then I think you should be able to take care of yourself.
Right. Well, there's a lot of health resources that you can look at. I think I really like holistic myself. Like I
Yeah,
started drinking rosemary tea because rosemary tea has a vast amount of things, and it can also help with stress and bring it out. But rosemary, I'll be honest with you guys, rosemary is a particular taste, and sometimes
yeah.
you might need a little bit of honey in there to cut that with, but it's very beneficial. There's a lot of things that rosemary tea helps with. Again, I'm not a doctor. I just do it for my own personal thing, and it has really helped me a lot. Um, I get you when you talk about intimacy drive going a lot down. Again, I have to reiterate, I did not have that high of drive in the very beginning. So, and but my husband and I have been married. Oh, what is it? I think it's going on 33 years this year, and I haven't broke him completely yet. I've been trying for the last few years, but I haven't done it yet. So, um, I think it's a lot of communication and being open to each other to understand that there's not just changes with you, but they're gonna have some. They might not admit it as much as we do, but there's going to be a lot of changes. So a lot to work through there, especially if you wanna look at my personal life as a roadmap for that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, in nutshell, to summarize, I think women
Mhm.
should empower themselves.
Yes.
Specifically during this phase, and when they're earlier, actually, if I may say so, because I had no clue when I started getting through perimenopause, and then I had to learn by myself and fix myself using trial and error, which is a wrong way to do it. So to summarize, I would say, in your mid 30s, late 30s, you should know what is going to hit you in the 40s, and don't be caught by surprise. Don't be, like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Because it can impact not only your personal wellness, but I mean, your physical wellness, but also your personal life, your career at workplace. Handling menopause at workplace is another beast. So there's
Mm,
a lot of things in a short amount of time. We can only reiterate and just say that please pay a lot of attention on this topic when you're reaching a certain age group.
right. So, let's get a little nitty-gritty. Um, let's talk about menopausal effects on our lady bits health. Um, what's the consensus on women that are freely able to talk about their lady bits?
Uh, well, I mean, women are. See, I've met a lot of women who have also gone through separation, divorce, and a lot of things, right? Like I said
Mhm,
earlier, 60%. And I could truly say that women that I've talked to, quite a high percentage of them have gone through this separation and divorce. I didn't get into the
mhm,
details of what the reasons were, but it does impact that quite a bit. So, how do you now rekindle, or how do you bring it back, right? So there
mhm,
are different ways that one can bring it back by having some different kind of massage therapies or some meditation. I can't use the word that just a certain type of meditation or tantra yoga or some of the things that you can do to stimulate that part of the body, right? So it's a
Mhm.
very big topic, and I have actually talked to quite a few therapists who focus on that area, and also
Mhm.
medical doctors who focus on that area, and it's complex. So it impacts a lot of women and a lot of couples for sure. There is no denying that fact, and also there's no denying the fact that most of the couples don't want to talk about this. They still think it's a not okay to talk about this openly, right? So that's that
Yes.
whole fear as well. So, like I said, I think the fact is to open the communication, and that is the best I can say. But it does impact everyone.
Right. I fully understand. So, for my last question for you this evening, because I appreciate you so much for being with us, um, what last minute advice would you give women out there that are probably premenopausal?
So premenopausal is very easy. They need to make sure they're prepared. They at least have enough understanding of what they are going to get into, like, you know what, when the young girls get periods, right, we
Mhm.
basically educate them in schools nowadays, right? The menstrual
Right.
health in the young girls, it's being taught in schools. Even simple other education is being taught in schools, in middle school for that matter, if I'm not mistaken. So the same, now we are not in schools anymore, we are not in colleges anymore, we are all over the place. But I think
Mhm.
it's on us as an individual, that we learn about this. We have to. So that's my biggest thing for premenopausal, and then the perimenopausal. They should and they should actually start changing their daily routines before you get perimenopausal, so you can handle these strange all the symptoms in a way without impacting your life or without engulfing your life, right? That would be
Right.
my advice to women out there, is to really take it on, to bring it on, that kind of a thing. And you are prepared, that you are not caught by suddenly a shock or a surprise, and then your career is going, you are not able to handle the work, or even your personal life, all those things, right? So hey,
Mhm.
just equip yourself with the right knowledge. That's my biggest advice.
Well, I wanna thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate what you're doing, and look forward to continued conversations.
Wonderful. We'd love to have you back anytime.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I wanna thank our listeners once again. Until next time, bye-bye for now.